being people-powered, and what we're secretly doing is creating a people-powered film studio. And you know, we have to look at kind of levels of participation in that. You know, we're kind of creating a framework to do it, and nobody's really done it before. There's only a few projects in this space, and you know, everybody's testing different approaches. So we have to look at levels of participation. You know, how can people who aren't necessarily very artistic still have a voice? Those who can't write, you know, how can they have a way to be involved in script production, that kind of thing. Small levels of participation and high kind of collaborative activity as well. So we're funneling that creativity, funneling people's creativity and allowing them to play and remix with it as well. So we have 5 phases, and at the end of the 5th phase, we've made an open source for each film. Sounds really easy. But we've been really controlling the way that that community is growing, because you really have to kind of aim in a specific direction, make sure it's going in that, and then start building up speed. And we're just rolling out at the moment a bigger platform to help scale up to that. So we're in advanced development, which means we're in the final stages of the scripts, and we're creating trailers for both of those film projects. And you know, we're jumping from 1,000 plus to 5,000 members. For about 6 months, I actually closed membership in the project, so we could just work together to build stuff and build a bit more, and for the community to, every community has its own rules and kind of atmosphere, and I really kind of wanted to kind of gel that down as well. So as you can see, phase 4, we're going to pre-production, and as I mentioned before, as Melinda mentioned, you know, we're also tapping into crowdfunding, so people who join the community for £25, you know, help, you know, develop and fund the whole process. And then once we've reached 25,000, we can actually greenlight and go into production and make the film, and that's probably the most traditional part of the process. So as I said, you know, it's very much a balancing act between growth and controlling that growth. So, you know, you still got a clear picture of how you want to go. And one of the big criticisms or first questions I get from people is like, 50,000 people, you know, recipe for disaster, too many cooks, you know, spoiling the broth. How can you have, you know, a clear vision when everybody wants to just, you know, has their own ideas and then wants to throw those into the mix? There's going to be too many flavors or whatever. There's obviously the emerging rule of thumb in user-generated content that only 1% of people are the, you know, the real uploaders or creators of that content. In the swarm at the moment, it equates more to free license and open source software. It's more like 5% who are actively participating in that. And if you think about that in terms of an audience, people who are advocates for your project and are spreading the message of it, that's just kind of astonishing in terms of marketing and kind of pushing the creative endeavor forward. But as we grow, I expect that to dilute as well to kind of the more 1% level. And if we're looking at a mini film studio, open source film studio, 50,000, then 500 active kind of participants and crew is actually very manageable. There's a huge amount of challenges in the process because we don't have any precedents, and one of those is obviously scaling. So while we're trying to keep as flat a hierarchy as possible, where we had a vote and decided that we should have some archangels recruited from the community to actually oversee, you know, particular tasks of media creation and areas, just to help us scale and keep control of that. One of the hardest things is actually managing expectations. You know, everybody wants to do stuff tomorrow online, and it's about building that momentum. But I think it's the UK video artist Sam Taylor Wood said that it takes 5 years not to make a film. So we're about, I think it's going to take us about 4 years. I'd like to beat 5 years, so that'd be good. And also the budget, because people have, you know, let's have, you know, this is going to be amazing, we want all these effects in the film. And it's like, well, you know, almost $2 million. It's a decent size for, you know, a film. You know, it's past guerrilla filmmaking, but, you know, we've got to kind of manage expectations of budget as well. Even though there's kind of, you know, this huge savings can be made by the all-digital route. And then just, I mentioned it before, just direction, keeping that collaboration on course in the community. One of the side, well, it was a side project to what we've been doing with a Swarm of Angels, View Share Remix. We're going to launch this in a couple of weeks. Is just the idea that, you know, what we wanted to do with the Swarm of Angels was just really try and create a flagship project and show that we can actually build. You can actually build a large-scale piece of media, you know, feature film, using a community. But also, we wanted with View Share Remix to look at the idea of, you know, building and having a nexus point for an open content ecosystem. And this is one of the things we want to do, kind of bring these projects together and have a resource to actually pull people together to do it. So I think I've kind of covered the idea of how we're trying to co-create the Swarm of Angels. Sign up is open again. You can freely sign up. I'm not going to force you to pay. That's a matter for your own consciences. But yeah, and you can also get the presentation from me if you like. It's going to be posted online. And as a bonus slide, if you're interested in kind of film in the digital age and the advances in the kind of the genre and, you know, stylistic